Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the grand opening of Nintendo Land! When the Wii was announced to use motion controls in 2006, no one knew how they would work in a video game. The new control scheme could either make or break the entire experience. So Nintendo packed in Wii Sports to show off the capabilities of motion controls, and as we all know, it worked out so well. Then, in 2011, Nintendo announced their next-gen console, the Wii U, and introduced a tablet controller. Again, people were skeptical of this new idea, which is why Nintendo packed in Nintendo Land with every Wii U, unless you bought the basic model. But the question is, did this game actually do a better job at showing people how the controller improves the experience? Let's enter Nintendo's theme park and find out. Nintendo Land doesn't focus on one type of gameplay. Instead, it centers around 12 minigames inspired from Nintendo's iconic franchises. These minigames are separated into 3 categories: team attractions, competitive attractions, and solo attractions. Since there are 12, I'm going to give my short thoughts on each of the minigames and tell you if they were fun or not. The first solo attraction is Yoshi's Fruit Cart, where the player must draw a path on the gamepad and collect fruit. The catch is, the gamepad only shows Yoshi and nothing else. The player must look at the TV and the gamepad to get an indication of what path to draw. This is a unique way to use the gamepad, but I feel it doesn't truly show off what it's capable of. Octopus Dance is one of the weakest minigames in the entire collection. All the player does is copy the movements of the diver. Controlling the Mii requires the use of both control sticks and the gamepad's gyroscope function. At times, the viewpoint will change, requiring you to switch from looking at the gamepad to the TV. There's also a red octopus that will spit out ink to block the view on the gamepad. Personally, I found this minigame to be tedious rather than fun. The gamepad feels like a gimmick instead of adding to the gameplay. Donkey Kong's Crash Course is thankfully one of the better solo attractions. The player must tilt the gamepad left and right to guide a barrel through a Donkey Kong-inspired course. Later on, the player will be required to blow into the mic, use the L and R buttons, and the analog sticks to move platforms. This minigame can be challenging if you're not careful. If you go too fast, it is possible to crash in certain situations. Once you finish navigating the first course, a new challenge will appear and it involves a lot of skill to complete. This attraction does put the gamepad to good use, and I feel it helps the experience instead of hindering it. In Takamaru's Ninja Castle, the player must save a captured princess from the clutches of evil ninjas. Pointing the gamepad at the screen will allow the hero to aim and attack enemies by sliding the stylus on the touchscreen. Think of this minigame like an arcade shooter. The player must beat as many enemies as possible before continuing to the next screen. Players are given extra abilities such as a cherry bomb or freezing time, which makes defeating enemies easier. Again, the gamepad feels more like a gimmick instead of adding to the gameplay, but I would be lying if I said I didn't enjoy the attraction. I'm glad to see they remembered F-Zero, but it's not as fun as the main series. This is a minigame collection after all, so I wasn't expecting too much. In this attraction, the player takes control of the Blue Falcon and moves the gamepad left and right to steer. While going through each area, obstacles will block the path, such as landmines or other vehicles. The gamepad offers a top-down perspective, while the TV offers a camera behind the racer. Looking at the TV is a better option because the player's vision isn't as limiting. The gamepad was implemented into this game well, but sadly, it feels more like a gimmick to me. Balloon Trip Breeze is without a doubt the best solo attraction. The player must guide a Mii to the end of each obstacle course by sliding the stylus on the gamepad to create gusts of wind. Challenges will become progressively difficult as the player beats each area. To make these areas easier, players can touch the screen to destroy obstacles in the way. This is a fun attraction, and the gamepad does add to the gameplay. I just wish more solo attractions had gameplay similar to this, by using the gamepad in a unique way, but not letting it hinder the experience. Competitive attractions can only be played with 2 to 5 players, but I recommend having at least 2 or more players join in. These minigames were meant to be played with as many people as possible, and it shows when there are only 2 players. With that out of the way, let's dive into the first competitive attraction, Mario Chase. Mario Chase is essentially a hybrid of tag plus hide and seek. The player with the gamepad controls Mario, who must run away from the opposing players and not get caught. The gamepad gives a map of the entire area so Mario can see where each player is, but this doesn't give him an advantage. If the players controlling Toad work together, they can easily catch Mario. This minigame is a lot of fun with friends, and the attraction shows how split-screen multiplayer can work with the Wii U. In Animal Crossing Sweet Days, the gamepad has control over 2 guards who have to tackle the opposing players 3 times. The other players control animals who have to collect a set amount of candy and hold them in their mouths before the guards catch them. Controlling the guards requires the use of both analog sticks, and it can be quite challenging at first. Once again, this attraction only shows off how split-screen multiplayer can work, but it is a lot of fun with friends. Luigi's Ghost Mansion, in my opinion, is the weakest competitive attraction. The player using the gamepad is a ghost who must tag the opposing players 2 times to win. The other players take control of Mario, Luigi, Wario, and Waluigi, who must find and shine their light on the ghost. Even though the ghost is invisible, players will feel a vibration in their Wiimotes when the ghost is near. The problem is, the player who uses the gamepad has a clear advantage over the others unless there are 3 or more players against the ghost. 3 or fewer players has a computer helper named Monita who randomly moves around the map. This doesn't help the other players at all unless a map called Rooftop is selected, which tells the player if a ghost is near them with the flashing lights on Monita's head. The gamepad in this minigame feels like it hinders the experience for others instead of improving it because of the unfair usage of the gamepad. The first team attraction is The Legend of Zelda Battle Quest, which is inspired from the Legend of Zelda series. In this attraction, players take control of Link, who can wield a sword or a bow. Using the gamepad will give control over the bow, which is used by moving the gamepad in all directions. There is no block button with this control scheme, but a prompt will show up on screen with an action to perform, which will make Link dodge. The sword is controlled using the Wiimote, and swinging it will make Link attack. By pressing the B button, Link will raise his shield to block incoming attacks. In some situations, players are required to swing the Wiimote in a specific direction to kill an enemy. Both of these controls work well with the game, and I like how the attraction shows off the gamepad's gyroscope function, but it's not the best example. Along with Octopus Dance, this is tied for being the worst attraction. In Pikmin Adventure, the player takes control of Olimar, who must make it to the end of each area. Along the way, Olimar will run into Nectar, which gradually levels up his Pikmin. To attack enemies, the player must tap a location on the gamepad to throw their Pikmin. A second player can also join in as a Pikmin who can attack enemies on their own. The gamepad is barely used in this minigame, and it feels like something that was tacked on at the last second. Like most team attractions, players have 2 controllers to choose from, the gamepad and the Wiimote. The gamepad controls Samus's gunship, and it perfectly shows off what the tablet is capable of. Players move the gunship using the left analog stick, while the right analog stick is used for ascending and descending. To aim at enemies, the players must use the gyroscope function of the gamepad. This keeps anyone engaged the entire time playing through each mission. It doesn't feel like the gamepad is hindering the experience at all, and adds much more strategy on how to approach an enemy. This game also offers the option to play as Samus out of the gunship. It basically acts like a shooter on the Wii. To aim, the player must point the Wiimote at the TV and hold down the A button to change the camera. Samus can also grapple to certain locations by pointing at purple circles and pressing B. It is even possible to cling onto the gunship and gain the ability to rapidly shoot enemies. There is also a battle mode where players can do air against ground combat or ground against ground combat. It can be a lot of fun with friends, but ground versus ground does get annoying with the token collecting. Overall, the gamepad was used flawlessly in this minigame and definitely showed off what the tablet can do. The graphics in this game can be hit or miss at times. The Wii U can definitely do better as shown by other titles such as Super Mario 3D World and Mario Kart 8. However, this game does shine with the different art styles used throughout each of the attractions. Each art style fits the world the games come from, such as Mario Chase Arenas being made of wood or Zelda Battle Quest being made of cloth. It's a nice touch which helps the personality of the game shine through. The music is also hit or miss. There are some great pieces in this game like the nighttime theme when roaming around the hub world or Mute City from Falcon's Twister Race. The 8-bit rendition of Nintendo Land's theme also adds a lot of charm to the soundtrack. If the player ends up enjoying the music, they can listen to it at the music box in the hub. Nintendo Land can be an enjoyable experience or a frustrating one depending on the taste of the person playing. For me, it was about 50-50. There are some standout titles such as Metroid Blast or Balloon Ship Breeze, but some of them were just boring, such as Pikmin Adventure and Octopus Dance. Again, it all boils down to what the taste the gamer has. I do think this game is an average pack-in title. It shows off what the Wii U is capable of, and it does a good job at showing off what the tablet can do. However, I wouldn't recommend buying this game unless it came with the Wii U. If not, save your money and buy some other games like Mario Kart 8 or Super Smash Bros.